Hi, good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I'd like to just introduce that Dr. Paul is not able to make it. He and myself work on some projects in healthcare, and I myself started looking at healthcare 20 years ago in Singapore, where we were trying to explore EMR, electronic medical record. I think some of you heard about EMR, but it was not ready because the doctors are not willing to enter the information in the EMR because they feel that if they have misdiagnosed their patient, those records will be evident that they can be sued in court. Because if you look at the doctors, the way they write, you cannot read. So if you have medical record that you can read, they cannot run away. So therefore, you find that the medical record were not able to implement 20 years ago in Singapore. And another problem with the EMR is that the time taken to enter the patient information, prescription, maybe 5-10 minutes, and the doctors are not willing to do it because for 5-10 minutes they can look at another patient. So why waste their time doing data entry? So these are two of the key issues that you find that the disruption in 20 years ago never happened. And most of the doctors were very old and senior, and they don't have, they are not trained on using IT. But today, after 20 years, then you will find that technologies are enabling the younger doctors. So the younger doctors are very excited about using the latest technology. And so I would say that, the journey to disruptive technology in medical is a journey. It is not a destination. It will take a long time because the fundamental issue is how do we change the mindset of the medical doctors. We can have everything, but if the medical doctors don't, cooperate with us, then you find that whatever you do doesn't help. So what I will do, is to talk about some of the healthcare technology today that you can find, and then we look into how they can be disruptive to the healthcare. And I personally also done some research in artificial intelligence as well as in blockchain for healthcare. So these are the two areas that I do a lot of work within the MIT skill group. So healthcare technologies are increasingly accessible. Accessible in the sense that even a mobile phone can be used, or a smartwatch can be used to detect the signal from the patients, right? And more importantly is affordable. I think the key word today in technology is it is affordable. All right, people can have access. So today with these two factors, you find that the adoptions of healthcare technologies are becoming more and more pervasive. You can see here where somebody in Botswana do an X-ray, and the X-ray is then sent to a radiologist via a mobile phone, and the radiologist just have to review the digital X-ray and then make some comment about that. So you find that today it is, first of all, accessible through mobile phone. Second, it is highly affordable, right? Now, if you look at all the consultants at the top, Frost Sullivan, Frost Healthcare, and World Economic Forums, and everyone are mentioning so many kind of technologies that are available. And two of us, we sum up what are the technology that we think are pervasive in healthcare. We have like so some of the technology that we think that is promising are like artificial intelligence, blockchain, especially in Singapore. Today we are looking into the ENR, Electronic National Record. Okay, so again now almost every citizen when they are born, they will be kept in the blockchain. And then we have telemedicine, but not Singapore. Singapore, half an hour you go end to end of the island, so no need telemedicine. Waste of money, waste of time also. In Thailand, yes, it's too far, rural area, so it makes sense to have telemedicine. And you think about what can happen if 5G is available for telemedicine. It will transform the whole world, right? You can do telesurgery, a lot of things you can do now with 5G. So the question is, are we ready for the new 5G for telemedicine? And then of course we have the EMR, electronic medical records, and 3D printing is also another promising thing now, right? So today we see a lot of application in the dentistry, where they are able to use the 3D image scan to make a crown on top of the patient. So a lot of this 3D printing are becoming more and more helpful, or restructuring of a broken jaw. So a lot of the orthopedics are also using 3D printing for this kind of applications, and of course mobile phone and wearable. So there are a few areas that I want to touch on. Due to the time limit, I do not have time to do all, but the key areas would be like diagnostic and imaging. Today you'll find that while we outsource the imaging and diagnostic to some of the cheaper countries like in India and all that, but we are also seeing a trend of, can I use artificial intelligence to look at the images and make sense out of it? So that would be something very useful. And in a more advanced level, we can actually use the AI to decide whether this patient is at stage 3 or stage 4 cancer, looking at the CT scan or whatever scan you have, right? So again, with AI, the accuracy, according to research in Singapore, where they do all this kind of prediction, they find that AI, the accuracy is 90%, whereas traditional doctors, specialists, the accuracy is 70%. Right. So you can see the difference that with AI, machine learning, they have thousands of images and all that. They can capture them, and from there they can make a more accurate diagnostic of the images. And then we have equipment and some other stuff. So let's go into the another area is the wearable technology today. So there are so many wearable things: smart watch, smart socks, the socks that will train you how to run properly, faster. Then we have a tattoo for sound device, and in MIT they are prototyping a patch for diabetic, which will detect the level of sugar in the blood, and when the sugar is high, the patch will discharge insulin into the body without you injecting. So it monitors continuously and ensure that your blood sugar is below the danger level. So this is again a prototype, not cleared by FDA yet, but you can see the potential is there. Eventually, type 1 and type 2 patients or diabetic patients don't even need to inject anymore or take medicine. All they need is just a plaster patch onto their body, and they will monitor their blood 24 hours and discharge insulin directly. So you will find that more and more wearable devices is becoming more effective in addressing an issue. Then we also have the DNA sequencing. And today with supercomputer, it become much more visible for us to look at your DNA and then prepare medicine that is really customized to your body, right? We call that precision medicine, right? Or personal medicine. Now this can only happen after they can analyze your DNA with the group and from there do the sequencing. This is promising, but it will take a longer time, right? A longer time. I think for telemedicine, there are two other speakers talking about that. But my view is that with 5G, telemedicine become a bliss, right? It will change the way how it works. Okay, so consultations will become more easier and more timely for the patient in some of the rural areas and so on. So when we look at digital healthcare, the interaction between the patient and the doctors have changed with digital healthcare. If you look at on the left side, the old model is that the doctor have access to your medical records, and also the doctor work in a hospital, right? And you have no access to information. You only get instruction from the doctor. But today is different. Today with information available in blockchain, right, as well as the blockchain able to integrate with different hospitals. So you are not limited by one hospital. You can do an X-ray in one hospital, and the same X-ray can be reused in another hospital without you taking the sense. So it's not just X-ray, but any kind of test that you want to conduct. So it will save you a lot of trouble as well as money. So as I said, today with the new technology, we can sequence, right? We can actually sequence based on the next generation sequencing to develop precision oncology, which is medicine for individuals. So next time you will not get generic drugs. If this happens, right, you will get drugs that are very personalized based on your DNA and so on. So this one maybe 5 or 10 years time you will see this coming. But today we are still relying on generic drugs. So you can see from here the patient now go through all the diagnostic, and then from there we will try to do the sequencing and come up with the targets of what they think is important to address your health, and then they produce the drugs that is specially meant for you. So you will find that this is something it will happen in a matter of time. Now, in terms of dentistry, again, as I mentioned, with the latest 3D scan and also with 3D printing, a lot of things are now made possible, right? So you find that the dentists today are given a lot of advanced technology that can help them in diagnostic, in the operation as well, right? So it is something you need to watch out for. So what does it mean? The advantage of having, for example, digital implantation. Today, with the new technology, it could be less painful because they know exactly what is the problem based on the X-ray, 3D, less bleeding, and then no stitches because they are plug and play, right? So they just plug into a latch and plug into the place without stitching it. With the new technology, it's made possible as well. And so on, right? So we're not going to talk too much about that. So, coming back to one of my area which I like to talk for, which is called artificial intelligence. So basically, when we look at artificial intelligence, is to model intelligent behavior, right? By looking at past data. So, AI can only work when you have a lot of data feed into the system. So that's how it works. Okay, and of course, AI, there are many streams of AI. One of them is natural language processing, where you do imaging, sound, you collect sound, imaging, and all that. That's one area. Then another area is machine learning. So that is the most popular today in AI. So what does machine learning do? So what it does is that it will write an algorithm to look at the data and make some sense out of the data, right, over a period of time, right? So we look at different patients, different medical conditions, and look at is there any pattern, all right? So any patterns and all that. So over time, the AI becomes smarter and smarter. Whereas for human being, we have limited amount of memory. So we may not be as accurate as an AI over time. Given them a lot of data that is given to them. So, and also the last point, right? Machine learning, like machines are not sustainable to, sleep duration. So they can do every day and there's no memory loss. It all depends on how much storage space you have in your system. There is no limit at all. So what is the benefit of AI? Now what AI did was to basically integrate the problem with the current patient, the symptoms, together with some other lab tests like urine tests, blood tests, and all that tests, and also the profile of the patients. And from these three, it will do a diagnostics, and based on similar pattern from the past patients, they can then tell you what this patient is basically experiencing, what kind of medical condition is he experiencing. And an example would be to decide whether, as I mentioned, can AI help us to decide whether you are having stage 3 or stage 4 cancer? Yeah, the answer is yes. Today, it can happen, right? There are already some AI machine learning software that can actually predict whether the patient is suffering from stage 3 or stage 4. And their prediction is more accurate than traditional doctors, proven already. Because they've gone through thousands, millions of historical data. So AI that I mentioned just now was on the software AI. But AI can also be incorporated into the hardware, right? So that is another area. So for the hardware, then we are looking at physical object that we can use to detect, to attach to the patient, or some devices. For example, a lot of scanner now, CT scan, X-ray are now passing information to the AI, right, and built inside the devices. So the devices also incorporate some AI capability as well. And also robot. Most of the robot has some AI capability. Okay, and so you can see that it can do a lot of stuff, wearable stuff, also some other devices that are attached to the body, and they are also built with some AI algorithm inside there. Of course, there is a lot of growth today in terms of the adoption of AI. Because why? Our healthcare expenses are increasing. Because doctors' pay salary is very high. So one way to cut down on this is to supplement part of what the doctor is doing with AI. We cannot replace the doctor, but we can supplement some of the things that the doctors are doing with AI. And also there's an imbalance between the healthcare workforce and the patients. Now we have more aging population, more and more people need to be attended, but you don't have so many doctors to attend to them. Okay, so AI will help to balance the demand and supply, and also and help you to minimize any human interface. Now, I just want to sum up the AI by explaining to you there are three types of AI. Right, the first type of AI is called descriptive AI. So they just take your X-ray and whatever and tell you what happened. So based on historical data, right? They use algorithm and build a model, and from there they will validate whether you fit under which condition. So that is called descriptive AI. There are many out there that do that, especially when they are integrated into the link system, LIMS system. Those are the descriptive AI. Then we have the predictive AI. Predictive AI is what could happen, right? Basically, looking at, as I said, right, whether I don't determine whether you are in stage 3 or stage 4 is part of predictive AI, or whether are you going to have another stroke coming up now that you suffer a stroke, and what is the chances of having a second stroke? So this is called predictive AI. So most of the AI cover these first two, but I have not seen much on the last one, prescriptive AI. Because prescriptive AI, when it become more and more dominant, they will replace some of the doctor. Yeah, because what they are doing is what should we do, and that's what the doctor will tell you to do. With prescriptive AI, you can virtually replace a medical doctor. But so far it can never happen because it have never reached that stage yet. Because there are many things that doctors will look at a patient besides medical records, many other things. So that's why the AI, and one of the problems with AI is that sometimes they can tell you something but they cannot explain, unexplainable, right? They can tell you, yeah, this patient is suffering from stage 4, but they cannot explain why do you think so, right? So there is a big hole in AI. They cannot explain, right? So that's one of the limitations of it. Now, due to the time limitation, so I will quickly go through the blockchain. Now, blockchain has been in use since 2010, right? But in the healthcare, it is still very slow, as I mentioned. One of the problems in healthcare, for example, the patient records. For many years in Singapore, we are debating who owns the medical record. Is it the patient, the doctor, or the hospital? It takes many years before they formalize that the patient is the one that owns the medical record. So now it becomes clear, right? And then the law will be structured according to that. So it takes a while to settle down, and then from there you can see why it takes a long time. Because first of all, you need to know the custodian to the medical record, who owns the medical record. If you cannot sort this out, then the EMR will never happen. Right? Very important. It is almost like your intellectual property of yourself. And so far, we have problem in Singapore where about 1.5 million of the medical record were hacked from a general hospital. 1.5 million, including some of the VVIP, you know. So it's quite scary that you put everything inside, but you're not sure whether one day this can happen. Then we have another case of HIV patients' record also can hack. So now you know the whole world in Singapore who got HIV, who don't have. Luckily, about 30 to 40% of the HIV records that was in there, they no longer exist in the world. Yeah, you know HIV, they don't last very long. So we still have to deal with the 70%. Then we talk about another point, which is the drug automacy, right? How can we make sure that the drugs that you buy from the pharmacy is original and not fake. So that also become another important question, and that's why these are two areas that blockchain are very suitable. Now, if you know the traditional medical record, paper-based, sometimes missing, lost, and poorly filed, and sometimes difficult, or eaten by rats, animals, and you don't find them anymore. And that's traditionally what happened in the old hospitals. Yeah? So today, and also the patient go to different hospital, and every time they go to different hospital, right? Patient, hospital A keep the record for the patient, and then when you go to the second hospital, they keep another separate record, but they don't share. So because of this, you find that the patient is at a disadvantage because whatever test that was done in the previous hospital cannot be reused in the new hospital. They have to do a retest again, and so on. So you find that there's a lot of inefficiency and healthcare cost increases. And this is again from Australia. They find that 2 out of 3 patients experience medical error when they try to sort out the hospital. They give them the wrong medicine. Those medicine they are allergic to, they didn't know, give it wrong, and they kill the patient. And by empowering the patients with medical information, they are able to save a lot of money as a whole. And sharing it could also reduce the duplications among the hospital. So you'll find that by sharing your medical records with different hospitals, then you will save a lot of effort and cost. So how do blockchain help you to do that? First, you must register your patients and set up the smart contract. So in blockchain, there is an application called smart contract. So this smart contract will do certain rules and regulations that are complying to the Ministry of Health, right? So they need to comply. And then after that, you can start doing medical performance, and all this record will be kept in the blockchain. And before they are kept, they are encrypted and then put into data blocks. So this is a simple way to imagine how blockchain works. So what are the information that you need to have in EMR? Basically, medications, what kind of medicines you are eating, transcript from the doctor. That's why I say doctors are not willing to go into this system, because every diagnostic is entered into the system. So if you misdiagnose and the patient die, now with this EMR, he will be held responsible. So most of the doctors are still very worried, right? Of course, what kind of treatments and so on. And then once the records are there, they first go through a smart contract to do validation of the rules. Now the smart contract do a lot of validation. One of the validation is to look at whether the lab result is the range suitable or the data are out of range and so on. So they do a lot of these validations, which is good, right? Compared to hard copy. Hard copy, you don't validate online. Now, so what is so good about this blockchain is the blockchain also allow you to share your information with the insurance company, medical insurance, so that you can claim, right? And then it can also share with the pharmacy company as well as your doctors and so on. So you find that a central storage area and able to distribute to whichever that need to process your information. So you find that blockchain become more pervasive in this area. So just to summarize, why is medical record useful? Because we also want to keep track of what are the drugs that you are allergic to and what are the drugs that you are eating. so that you can reduce the toxicity of your drugs. Then the second thing is that it will allow you to share information and enhance the health management within the patient. Reduce the time to gather the data. Now it's all in the same place. You don't have to collect your record from many hospitals. You only go into the blockchain and download the information. So the last point, avoid duplication services. So once you do an X-ray, you can use that X-ray images and share with whichever hospital you want to do that. So that makes a lot of cost saving. Now then we come to the drugs again, medical, pharmacy. Pharmacy, we do not sure whether the supply chain, anybody is modifying your medicine, or the trading companies also maybe are not buying 100% from you, maybe buy some original, some fake, and then mix them around, right? And contaminating the whole entire pharmaceutical supply chain. So this is always happening. Now, so what can blockchain do to ensure that the drugs is genuine? The very starting point is that after the medicines is serialized in the manufacturer, then it produces a QR code, and before it leaves the manufacturer, the QR code is recorded into the blockchain. So it started the new block, the digital block, based on the QR code. Then as it moves on to the wholesaler or distributor, right, they either get consolidated or whatever, then it generates another QR code that you can read. So that will be from the second part of the supply chain. And then after that, you go into the retailer. Retailer will again generate their own QR code. So as you can see, it allows different parts of the supply chains to make sure that the drugs that you're getting is coming from the genuine manufacturer. Right? And this can only happen when you have a blockchain where every party in the supply chain are updating their QR. So at the end of the day, this is what you get, right? So at the end of the day, when I scan the QR code on the product itself, when you buy at the pharmacy, then you will know whether the drugs are coming from the original source or they are not. Looking at the traceability of the blockchain. So the blockchain allows you to trace all the way back to the manufacturer. So the last point I want to talk about is that while technology are disruptive, no doubt, but there are also some challenges in implementing healthcare technology. The first one is the development cost is very high. You have to put a team of software engineers to build an AI algorithm, or you have to build a blockchain and get people to involve, and all this costs a lot of money and effort. Right, so there are a lot of, and also technology in terms of hardware, devices. So the development cost is definitely very high. And second is the integration to the existing link system, diagnostic system, record system, and all these. When you have to integrate, again, some hospitals are not willing to share some of this information. Now, one of the issues is the ethical issue. For example, so let's say, again, going back to the same cancer case patient. So if the doctor diagnose the patient and think that the patient is having stage 3 cancer, then the patient went to check with other doctors and they find that the patient is actually stage 4. The patient can sue the doctor, right? Because he misdiagnosed. What about AI? So let's say you let your data go into this AI software. AI came out and say you are stage 3. But when you would go and check around and you finally confirm that you are at stage 4, can you sue the AI software? So that's the problem facing today. How can you sue a software? There's no way you can sue a software. So there's some ethical issue. That's why no AI want to be a prescriptive AI. Even predictive AI, they will let the doctor make the decision. They will not do it and say, yeah, this patient is stage 3. They don't have that so-called the knowledge and the power to do that. So we look at ethical issues, and also, as I mentioned, doctors are not willing to use technology for many reasons. And of course, they are worried that over time, once the prescriptive AI is available, they will replace the doctors. Data privacy, as I mentioned, the more you put data inside the blockchain, then there's a chance that if somebody hack into the system, they can actually access your information. So that would be quite dangerous, right? And also, every machines use different protocol to communicate with each other. So you will find that there are a lot of interoperability issues. And then also regulations. Every country have their own regulations. So you have to comply to FDA and so on and so on. And of course, any other stuff. So now, Paul and myself and 2 other researchers are just about to publish a book on healthcare 4.0. That means using industry 4.0 to transform healthcare. So this book will be available around middle of August, and you will find examples of how technology are used to disrupt the healthcare industry. Technology like so you will find technology like AI, big data, blockchain, and so on. So if you have a chance, you can go and take a look at this book. It will share a lot, and also it will share a methodology on how to implement healthcare system in a real life setting based on our experience in healthcare. Okay, methodology that is quite useful. So with that, then. So with that, I'd like to stop here, and if anybody have any questions regarding my presentation, please let me know. Anybody have any questions? Yeah. Sure. Oh, the biggest challenge. Yeah.
My name is Somya from Myanmar. Now we are trying to change to for the EMR in the hospital. So now you mentioned already in the last 20 years ago, you have the experience, you have the biggest challenge that the doctors when the EMR they're resisting. We are now facing a lot of resisting on one. So what are the key challenges? So when you face the changing of time?
I think based on my experience in Singapore, we find that the biggest challenge is how to change the mindset of the medical practitioners, the doctors, because they always think that it's very unproductive to enter the information where they can see another patient for the same thing. And another thing, as I mentioned, they don't want to be putting their head on the chopping board by doing all the diagnostic and keeping online. One day the patient die, everything inside the blockchain will be reviewed. Who misdiagnosed this patient? So there's a lot of medical insecurity, and that's also another. But the good thing about today is that the younger doctors are very willing to share, willing to use the technology. And what we need is a key leadership driver to drive the whole transformation. I see a lot of success where the CEO of a hospital driving this whole project and getting all the doctors and administration to work towards a common goal. I think that's how I see it's coming. So the whole idea is leadership from top down and mindset change. So these two you combine, I think you have a 70% success rate. Software is always there. There shouldn't be any problem. The main thing is get a good committed leader that will drive the change and also getting the medical doctors to make change in mindset.